Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Beyond Second Cognition. I'm Beall. The topic of this discussion is, do you have free will? I'm going to pose a lot of questions, and I'm going to let you guys figure that out for yourselves. I'm going to share my perspective, and you can take and do with it whatever you feel. And the first thing that you have to ponder in this is that you're talking about two different things. You're talking about free, and you're talking about will. The concept of free will as a singular thing is a misconception. So let's address the first thing here in reference to the first cognition reality as to whether you have free will or not. You have been programmed since you were born, indoctrinated into school systems, indoctrinated by your cultures, indoctrinated by your religions, indoctrinated by your political ideologies, and you live in a world like a three-ring circus with a bunch of menu choices from which to choose to live your life. Someone else dictates these choices, so basically you're living from a menu. You don't create the menu, you're not the cook in the kitchen. You just have to deal with whatever is served up on the plate to you. When your reality is governed by so-called choices of this nature, do you really have any choice at all? It's like standing in front of a vending machine and looking at your choices and deciding what you're going to pull to get out of the machine. Is it going to be the candy or the chips? It's the same kind of choice. There may not be anything in the vending machine that you want, but you have to make one of those choices. Well, that's what first cognition reality is, folks. It's a bunch of vending machine choices that you may not necessarily like what's there, but you got to choose something. So how much freedom do you actually have when you're locked into a menu choice of beliefs and ideologies and cultural programming and do's and don'ts and thou shalts and thou shalt nots and all this other kind of bullshit? Do you really have any free will? Or do you have a choice among menu choices that you're compelled to choose from? Ponder that question and answer me if you have any free will. Now let's take this a step further onto the personal level of the virus infection, to where you have no control over your emotions. You can repress them sometimes. But the fact is, you don't have any freedom of choice in how you react to situations, because you're controlled and programmed by the virus, by the cultures, by the religions, by the politics, by what your neighbor does that pisses you off. So even then, you have no freedom. You're a compelled slave. You're a slave to your goddamn emotions. So you tell me, do you have any free will? I mean, really, do you? When you can't control how you act for the most part in any stressful type situation where something triggers your hair trigger bitch switch and you go flying off the deep end because somebody says something that hits you wrong, or sends you into a tailspin of insecurity because you don't measure up to someone else's standards, how much freedom do you have there? And if you don't have any freedom, can you exercise any will? I don't think so. So the answer to this question is no. You don't have any goddamn free will. You don't have the freedom to make the choice to do much of anything. Not within that world and that perceptual realm of cognitive control. All you can do is stand in front of the vending machine and figure out what you're going to choose from, and then react when somebody doesn't give you what you want or you don't perform according to what they want. The only genuine free will choice you have is the choice to rid yourself of the virus habits and gain your true freedom. When you have your cognitive freedom, then and only then can you exercise your will to do much of anything. Because until you do this, your will is not your own, and your freedom is but an illusion. You're living in a vending machine world, choosing from menu choices that others designed for you, thinking that you have free choice. And you're basically just running around in circles thinking that you have choice, thinking that you have free will, when in fact you have no free will whatsoever. Until you can free your consciousness and become a totally autonomous, cognitively free and sovereign individual, you have nothing free and you have no will of your own, because you are controlled by your habits. You are controlled by your emotions. You are controlled by your cultures. Every place you turn, you are controlled by something or somebody. So how free are you? There's always a law, there's always a rule, there's always a regulation that you must follow and adhere to, because if you don't, well, we'll punish you. We'll fine you. We'll put you in jail, or God's going to get you. So how much freedom do you have in a world operated and controlled by negative reinforcement called punishment? Make the grades, study our subjects, give us the correct answers, and if we don't, we'll fail you. How much freedom do you have in your academic courses, folks? How much will do you have to exercise when you're told what to do and when to do it and how to think and when to wipe your ass? Do you have free will? Fuck no. Who the hell are you kidding? Until you can get yourself out of that cognitive slave arena called first cognition, you have no choice. You have no will. So you have no freedom and you have no will, ergo you have no free will. You are a compelled slave. The only genuine choice you have is to step out of that false reality, that false control, menu-driven conception of a world. Because until you do, you don't have any freedom, and you don't have any will to do anything other than what the fuck you're told to do by somebody, somewhere, or someplace up the line. So, in answer to the question, do you have free will? No, you don't. You don't have the freedom to do anything except maybe make the choice to try and exit from that world. And even when you decide that you want to dump it, do you have the will to go forward and the stamina to go forward in the face of everything that will try and drag you back into that comfortability? Your fear, your emotions, the concept of somebody giving you shit because you don't agree with them, caving into their demands and never living for yourself, because if you're living your life for others or through others, you have no will of your own. You're nothing but a puppet on a string to somebody else's fucking desires. Whether it's your boss or your politicians or your lawmakers or even within your own household. So, people have asked me about this free will thing time and again, so I figured it's time to put the video out here and clarify it once and for all. Within the first cognition world, no, you do not have any free will. You have the freedom to make limited choices, and that's all. And you don't have the will to do anything except make the choices and live with the choices that you make. So show me where free will comes in to your conceptual and perceptual reality. And if you can't find that free will within that realm, the only way you're going to find it is to step out of it. Sorry, folks. Hate to be the harbinger of bad news, but hey, life sucks until you change it. The only free will choice you have is to step out of that cognitive, psychotic pit of vipers and gain your own true freedom. Because until you have the freedom, you can't exercise your will. For those of you doing the work, stay the course. Don't give up on yourselves.